Typically in this day and age, our culture today, the subject of prayer is a little bit low on the interest level. If we're here to talk about how we've been hurt when we were a child, then a lot of people come. You know, they want to talk about themselves. When they want to talk about prayer, it's pretty low, so thank you for coming. What people don't realize is when you talk about prayer, a lot of times people think, well, we're going to talk about prayer to make their prayer life better, not understanding if you get this right, we're going to make your life better. Not your prayer life better, it will get better, but you get this right, we're going to make your life better, not your prayer life better. And it's huge, and I hope you'll see that. This is tried and true. It works. It's worked long time for me and for a lot of people around the world. It's been amazing when I've done this at particularly pastors' conferences around the world. And pastors typically kind of look at you like, I already know about prayer. I've been praying for years and years and years. And to watch them, just amazement as the light bulb comes on. It may come on during this session because this is about where we are, where you start seeing a few things about where we missed it in the culture. Our culture of Christianity is way off when it comes to prayer. But we'll see where we get. I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 6 simply because what we call the Lord's Prayer is there. And we'll just reflect back a little bit last week on the Lord's Prayer, which was in Luke chapter 11, so we can do both. So you remember last week, or if you weren't here last week, we reflected on Luke chapter 11. We said, teach us to pray, as John's disciples taught them to pray. And he said, okay, do it this way and pray, our Father. And it starts with Father. Somebody that probably might be listening right now was here, and they're not here tonight, but they were here. They can't be here tonight, but they told me after the session last week, they got up the next day and tried to pray, and all they could pray was Father, Father, Father. They tried to pray other things, and all they could pray was Father, from the revelation over and over and over, and I can understand that. And so, first of all, we focused in on who this is about and staying on Father. So that, and then the second part of it is, which we'll talk about tonight, hallowed, to be honored, to be praised is your name. And focused on the thing that God can't do himself is honor himself, as we've talked about. And so we honor his name and we give him something that he needs. So here in we'll get there in just a second. Here in Matthew chapter 6, we're going to go up to verse 5. I think I might have read this last week, but we'll talk about it now. Verse 5. And when you pray, I was going to tell you, it feels like I'm going too fast because there's so much to say, but then we don't have that much time. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. It's a powerful scripture that has so many things in it to learn about. One thing you can learn about this, it says, do not be like them. It doesn't say they're the pagans here. It says the hypocrites. So these would be Jewish hypocrites. And it says, don't be like them. They love to stand praying. They love to pray. The hypocrites love to pray in the synagogues, on the street corners. But their goal is to be what? Is to be seen. Now notice this is very strong in Jesus' theology, is he says they love to be seen, and so they have received their reward in full. Now this is just a lesson for you to learn in Christianity and in Judaism. Anytime you want to be seen, that's your reward. They want to be seen, they got to be seen, that's what they're going to get. Done. Okay? So if you want to be seen, like for instance, if it mentions other things, like for instance, if you want to be seen in the offering, you want to be seen giving, or you're going to be seen, then when people see you, that's it. You're not going to get anything else for giving, right? In your giving, in your tithing, in your giving, or whatever. They like to be seen. They give, and they tithe. They do all that. They like to be seen praying. That's a reward, okay? If you like to be seen as the great worshiper of World Revival Church or whatever church, and you like to be seen, and you're such a great worshiper, and that's it. You don't get any other reward. What you want to be seen, you got to be seen. That's it. Everybody got that? Okay. Same thing with prayer. Whatever subject it is. So they like to be seen. That's a reward in full. So if you want to be seen, you get to be seen. That's it. Okay. So then the other side of it, some people have taken it too far, but when you pray, go to your room and pray. The strong part about it is your Father who sees you in secret, pray to your Father, then your Father, it mentions it 3 times. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you have need before you ask him. So 3 times mentions the Father. Then he says, when you pray, pray to your Father. 4 times the Father is mentioned in this passage. So that's pretty strong understanding who we're praying to. I don't want us to go overboard in the closet room that I have to always go to the closet to pray, because you can pray always, as Paul said. But the idea is we don't want to be like the hypocrites who they're wanting to be seen, but we go because we don't need to be seen. That's the whole idea. But we're going to pray to our Father. And then secondly, he says, and when you pray, this is important, and when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans. So it starts out with hypocrites, and then it also babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. And so a lot of times Christianity or Jewish, a lot of people, they really get tied up on words. They got to say the words just right, and they got to say a lot of words, and it's not a lot of words. Okay, so they a lot of these words, he said they'll think they got to get the words right, and a lot of words. And so you don't need to do that. And here's the key to it. It says, because your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Now there's a real kicker there, because this throws a big kink into our thinking, because if your Father knows what you need before you ask, then why do you have to ask? Right? So if your Father knows what you need before you ask, then why are we asking? Okay, so this throws a little bit of something in here. So your Father knows what you need before you ask, then that tells me that possibly prayer is not about asking about my need, because he already knows. In other words, there must be something else going on that I don't need to babble on about my need. I'm babbling on about something he already knows, right? I'm babbling on about something he already knows. So, in other words, prayer must be something more than about need if he already knows. Now, it says he knows what you need before you ask him, so it doesn't say I don't ask him. So I do ask him. But there must be something more going on here besides asking him. And there's something important about asking him in such a way that is important to him. And it's not babbling on about it. Everybody got that? So it's not over and over and over and over. He doesn't like that. That's not how he wants it to happen. But I do need to ask him. So if we put this together, probably asking him in the honorable way, right? Because we know we need to honor him. Babbling on and on and on obviously would not be an honorable thing to do. All right? So we want to ask him in an honorable way. We do need to ask him. Shall we just throw in real quick probably why we need to ask him? We need to ask him because we want him to know that we know that he is the source, that he is the answer, right? But we don't want to do it in such a way that shows that we're babbling on like pagans, that if we say it enough times, he'll hear us. If we say it enough times, he'll get it, right? Because he's our Father, because we have this honorable relationship, we don't have to say it on and on and on and on and on. Our relationship is based on an honorable relationship. We're getting in the door. You should, if you were here last week, we're getting in the door of hearing because we talk honorably. We are recognized by our identity, right? He's our Father. That shows we have an identity. And we're getting into this because we have something called honor going on. All right? We're not babbling on. We're not begging on. We are getting in through honor. Okay? And so we do ask, but it's an honorable ask. We're in the door, if you don't mind me using that term, in the door, because honor is happening. All right? Pagans are not using honor, right? And obviously hypocrites are not using honor. Okay? And this honor thing is and obviously even here in Matthew 6, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, is right up front again, whether it be in Matthew 6 or Luke 11. Honor is right up there. Okay? Now, this honor thing, and we're also, hopefully, if we have time, we're going to get to the bread at midnight, I hope, today, and explain that. So I'll have to kind of move quickly. But this honor thing is so important because for me, and if you've been with me for years, you've heard bits and pieces. If you weren't paying attention way back then, you missed it. Or if you're fairly new or you dozed off when I was teaching, you need to hear it again. Okay, so this honor thing is very unusual, that you could miss it along the way and you misunderstand the power of it. And like I said, we think we're going to just get better at prayer rather than better at life, okay? So the honor thing is a little confusing. So I tried to get it so it's very, very simple. And where if God knows what you need before you ask him, why do you need to ask him? But let's even get it more confusing, all right? Let's confuse it even more. And I have asked for years and years something that does now, but didn't make sense at the time. And maybe you can think of it too, of how it doesn't make sense. You've been with us, have heard this question before. But I asked the question years and years ago, why God would put me here on this earth when the Bible says that Satan is the god of this world. Is that true? Yeah. Now, we know, looking backwards, that Satan has been defeated, even though he's still a renegade on the loose. He's been defeated. But when that was said, and that was, and the reflection of that is, Satan was cast out of heaven, right? With 1/3 of the angels. And where was he put? Here. He came here. Okay? Now, if I want to start a family, and I want them to be prosperous and protected, and it's wonderful and it's great, am I going to put them in the neighborhood of the worst bandit, of the worst robber, of the worst murderer, of the worst liar in the universe, and put them in his neighborhood? It doesn't make sense, does it? I'm not going to take my kids and put them around the worst person or the worst creature in the universe. That doesn't make sense. Why would God put us here? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about life on other planets. Why not there? There's plenty of them. God could have worked it out, right? But he didn't. He put us here on this planet where Satan is ruling. Now, obviously, he put us in the Garden of Eden, which, had we kept the rules, humanity had kept the rules, we would have been in a special spot of being able to be rulers, dominion, been able to multiply people, creatures like ourselves. But it didn't work out because this creature, Satan, this created being Satan, however it worked out, obviously had access to the humanity that God created, right? However you look at it, you could say, well, yeah, but we were really safe. We were in the garden. But the serpent Satan had access. The ability to tempt us. So if we really want to look at this, we could question God's thinking. What were you thinking? So here Lucifer and 1/3 of the angels are thrown out of heaven. They're put down on the earth. And then God says, hey, let's create man in our image. Yeah, great idea. Hey, let's put him in Satan's neighborhood. And then if they really mess up, they'll go to hell. Oh, yeah. Isn't that right? I mean, isn't that where we are right now? We're in Satan's neighborhood, and if people really mess up and follow Satan, they're going to burn in hell forever. What is that? What was he thinking? Why did he put us in some other place like we're going to go to Mars someday or whatever? There. But he didn't. He put us here. And so if you think of it, if you clear your head enough to ask questions without getting too confused, it's a good question. So there has to be a reason why God would create his own humanity in his own image and put us here. Okay. So he did. And then you back up and begin to understand honor and understand that when Lucifer rebelled and he took 1/3 of the angels with him, he also took 1/3 of God's honor with him. And that honor did not go away. In other words, we can't just tell God to get over it, right? That honor did not go away. That honor and that insult, as I mentioned last week, is still going on today. He's still being called a liar. He's still being called a trickster. I mean, Lucifer is still, Satan, the devil, is still making accusations, not just to you, which he will do, but he's making them mainly towards God himself, right? And Jesus, but he's making them towards God. It never stops. It never stops. It never stops. Okay? So it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. So how is God going to stop that or recuperate his honor? And as you know, you've heard me probably preach before, he could, with his power, just wipe Satan out and just declare his honor. He could build a big statue, a big honor thing, right? He could build a big thing that just proclaims his honor, right? And so here is Satan down here in this realm, lying about God, declaring who God is, treacherous things about God, and he's right here. So why would God create humanity and put them down here? There's only one logical reason. That is to recuperate his honor, because he can't do it himself. One reason humanity was created in this territory, the only reason, is hallowed be thy name. To honor him. Because Satan is down here with 1/3 of the angels, and here we are, created in his image, restoring God's honor. That's how powerful it is. That's why prayer starts out with honor. That's why you can turn your life around by living a life of honor and understanding the power of honor. And that's where so many people miss it, where they think all of a sudden this is all about just, oh, well, I should pray more. And it has nothing to do with that. It's looking at your life, looking at your family, looking at your children, just looking at yourself and saying, if you do get this, if I get this, all I have to do is start looking at my life and saying, where could I increase honor? If you will increase honor, you will increase everything. It completely increased everything in my life when we did this. And we have done it in hundreds of churches around the world where they asked me to teach this and get this going in their church. And what happened was then pastors, teachers, parents, everybody in the church who got it would start evaluating their lives, not only in the church, but then they would try to, as best they could, let it spill over into their homes. But the most powerful, obviously, of honor was in the church, because this is God's house, and this is where we want to show the most. I mean, this is where we come to show honor corporately, right? And so it became so powerful. And it was where before parents, I would see parents in our own church, but other churches, when I would start teaching it on a Sunday maybe, and I would see parents, they would just be swept away in such worship, and their kids were, picking their nose and laying on the floor and kicking their feet, and then they'd have their little dolls and their little toys, and they'd bring them, and they were just doing whatever, and the parents didn't even know anything. They didn't even see them because they were so much into God. And their kids were being totally dishonorable. And so you take that, showing and allowing that and not seeing it as though they weren't your children. As though those children and what they're doing have no effect on you and your family at all. And then you get into financial trouble or relationship trouble, and you start praying, oh, God, help us with our finances, like that. But you've been so dishonorable that you can't get a hold of God. God doesn't hear. The way to do it is say, what can we do to honor God? And sit those kids down and say, look, you want to turn this thing around? You want mommy and daddy to stay married? Huh? You're crying out, oh, I want mommy and daddy to stay married. Well, let's turn this thing around. Let's get our relationships. Let's get our family right. How are we going to do that? We're going to start honoring God. And you're not going to kick around and run around the church crazy anymore. We're going to worship God. We're going to put our toys away, and we're going to focus on God. We're going to do what's honorable. And people did it. In hundreds of churches, they did it. And it turned their whole church around. We're going to not goof off and cry and dishonor God. We're going to, and we just, all you do is you look at yourself, what can we do to honor God? What are we doing to dishonor God? What can we do to honor God? And sometimes it was small things, and then you get better and better, and you see things better and better. But it really works, and people understand it. You get into financial trouble, and you say, oh, we need a financial breakthrough. What are we going to do? We'll hold out our hands and hope somebody gives us money. Right? We'll just hope some money. Give us money. But people who have financial troubles, if you give them money, usually they have financial troubles again. But instead, you want to turn the whole thing around. Let's start honoring God. And you can sit the kids down, mom, dad, kids, friends, everyone, set them down and say, look, we're going to turn our whole lives around, and we're going to start honoring God. This is a system of honor. And when you do that, God starts hearing your prayers, because this is a system of honor, which I'll help you understand as I continue to hurry, okay? I'll continue to hurry, because we're just going to start hit the surface here, okay? So it's a system of honor, and God placed us here on purpose to restore God's honor, because we're the only ones that can do it, and so that we can get that honor going. So if you can get this and think about it, and think about your family, well, think about yourself, and what can you do personally, and it will increase and increase and increase your prayer life. Because the idea, well, we'll get to this later, but I'll just throw it out there right now. The idea is not to pray. The idea is you've got to have your prayers heard. Okay? Not everything we call prayer, God calls prayer. You have to get your prayers heard. The Bible says if he hears us, he answers. What causes God to hear? Well, it's the honor that goes forth. Okay? So I better move. If I'm going to get to that point, because we could review it next week. Let's go back. It seems like time went by so fast. Okay, let's go back to Luke 11, Some of you have heard this before, some have never heard it before, but it's worth hearing again. We'll go to Luke 11, and I'll get this real quick. So remember last week, if you were here, I read from the Passion Bible because it's so plain and easy to understand. And this time I just have NIV, and I read it again. And even in NIV, it has the friend come. Remember this? The friend comes at midnight, and you don't have any bread to give him. So he goes to the neighbor friend, and he's a friend. He's a real friend. But the friend's already in bed, right? And so you ask him, can you get up and give us some bread? I don't have any for my friend. And he won't do it. He says, no, I'm not getting out of bed. Remember that? Okay. Then verse 8, I tell you, even though he will not get up and give you bread because of his friendship. So get this. Friendship does not get him anything. A lot of times people say, do you know if Jesus is your personal Savior and, and all that stuff. Well, that didn't get it. Personal friendship didn't get it. Then NIV says, yet because of your shameless audacity, the Passion Bible, what did it say? Because of his shameless persistence. Shamelessness. Shameless. So the idea was embarrassing pounding, right? Embarrassing, shameless, embarrassing pounding. The guy will finally get up and give him what he wants. And almost every translation will say that. Now, Kellen's here. Kellen went and did a study, right? Right after the next day or that night, next day. You found out that is not what it says if you dig deep enough. Just what I said, right? Dig deep enough, it does not say that. But on the surface it does because of the translation and a word mix-up. Almost all of them say that. Now, what I told you, though, it does not make sense. So let's, I should have, I think I did bring the other, no, I might have left it in the car or whatever, the other one, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's take it and just see how ridiculous it is. So I'll just say it to you. So we're going to go with this. So for your shameless pounding, you will get what you want. So then it says, ask and it will be given to you. So if we follow through, it'd be for your shameless pounding and for your shameless asking and for your shameless seeking and for your shameless knocking, you'll get what you want. It should follow through, wouldn't it? Shameless pounding, shameless asking, shameless seeking, and shameless knocking, then you'll get what you want. For anyone who shamelessly asks will receive. But it doesn't say that, does it? In any of the translations. It says, as they translate it, for your shameless pounding or your shameless audacity or your shameless persistence, you'll get what you want. But just ask. But just seek. But just knock and it'll be open to you. For everyone that asks will receive. What? It doesn't make sense. It completely contradicts what they just said. There's nothing after that point. There's nothing in the Bible about being shameless, about pounding, about persistence. There's no persistence. If it says ask and it'll be given to you, where's the persistence? It's not there, is it? It doesn't say be persistent. It just says ask. It doesn't say seek and be persistent. It doesn't say everyone who asks receives. It just says the one who seeks finds, right? So there's a huge breakdown in the translation. Okay? So if you continue to go through the translations and you just keep digging and keep digging, you'll find out that the translation does not say for shameless pounding, for embarrassing yourself in the street. Okay? That's what actually people think it says. Just keep doing it and just do it and embarrass yourself with your prayers. And then that guy will finally get up out of bed. I kind of call him the grumpy neighbor. The grumpy neighbor will finally get up at midnight if you just embarrass yourself enough. So pray until it's ridiculous. Pray until everybody's going like, this is embarrassing. And I've read almost every translation says that. Okay? Well, that's totally ridiculous because we started out where? We started out by saying, Father, honor and praise of your name. This is an honor thing. We're going to get our prayers answered by what? Increasing honor, okay? Not by increasing embarrassment, right? We're not going to get prayers by embarrassing ourselves. We're going to get prayers answered by honoring God, okay? So now all you have to do is understand the culture, all right? So the culture is based on honor. Obviously, our prayers are going to be based on honor, okay? So this is how it starts out. So Jesus says, start out by praying honor, and then he gives this funny example. So suppose you go and a friend comes and you don't have bread and your friend needs bread, and you go to your friend and he won't give you bread because he's your friend. How do you get bread? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes just embarrass yourself in the street. And it doesn't fit at all. And as you go through it, you realize, wait a minute. What if I took the prayer that Jesus was trying to teach me and I applied it to the example? He said, honor God, use honor, try honor, try honor, try honor. What if I took that and applied it to the example? What if that was what Jesus was trying to teach me and I dug through all the junk and found out that's what it really meant, which is what you will find if you dig it out. So when you read the translation, here's what it says. This is an honor society, okay? It's based on honor. Jesus said, when you pray, say, hallowed be thy name. Honor to the Lord. When you want to get bread at midnight, even though he told you no, press the honor button. Go after honor. Don't go after shame. And embarrassment, shamelessly embarrassing yourself. That's not going to work. Go after the honor button, and you'll get as much as you want. So here's what it says. So it says, even though you go to the guy at midnight and you say, I don't have any bread, my friend needs some, will you give me some bread? And the guy says, nope, I'm already in bed. But you go to him and he thinks about it, and this is what it actually says in the original translation. It says, but in order to prevent shame, not in order to be shameless, not in order to commit shame, because that's what this says. You're going to go commit shame. What? What kind of a culture what kind of a neighborhood is this? It does not say in order to commit shame. It says in order to prevent shame. In order to prevent shame, he will get up and get him as much as he wants. Because if he doesn't, then he will bring shame on the entire neighborhood. See, the whole idea is not to commit shame. The whole idea is to prevent shame. This is an honor society. You want to bring honor to your neighborhood. You want to bring honor to your father. You want to bring honor to this neighbor. You want to bring honor to the guy in town that just came into town. You want him to leave your town and go to the next town, next town, next town, and say, that's an honorable neighborhood. Those are honorable people. I was hungry. I had nothing to eat, and they gave me something to eat at midnight. They're honorable people. They're honorable. They fed me. And so you want to produce honor, and in order to produce honor, you want to not produce shame. And the Bible, these translators got it totally opposite and said, go produce shame. And what? Totally against the translation. Is that what you found, Kellen? It says, in order to prevent shame, right? Yeah. In order to prevent shame, he will get up and give him as much as they want. Now, what does that mean to you? What does this do to change your life? In other words, when you go to pray, the last thing you want to do is create shame. What you want to do is talk to God. You want to talk to your Father, and you want to present your case, and you want to say, God, I want to talk to you about this. God, I got to talk to you about this. And I want to tell you, I've reserved these conversations for some pretty big stuff. I don't go lightly about just something, a passing fancy. But I've gone before God, I mean some big, big stuff. And I have said, God, I got to talk to you about this. You need to do this. You need to get out of bed in this midnight hour. Because if you don't, this is going to bring shame on the kingdom. And I don't want shame, any more shame, to come on your name or your kingdom or your church. Because I believe I am here, I have been sent here, I have been born here to help prevent shame. Hallowed be thy name. I am here to honor your name. And I present my case before you. And sometimes I do it again and again and again. And I'm not creating shame. I'm presenting my case. Just saying, God, I want to remind you that I'm here to remind you. This is, in my opinion, this is going to prevent shame on your name. And I believe that's why I'm here. I'm here to honor your name. And you can check me out on it. I'm not just this one thing, but you can check me out on it on Sunday morning. I'll be right down here, God, and I'm going to do my best to honor your name. And when I'm at home, I'm going to do my best to honor your name. And when I'm trying to be an example to my church, I'm going to do my best to honor your name. And when I'm around my kids, I'm going to try to, and my grandkids, I'm going to try, through the years, I've tried to honor your name. And now I'm presenting this case. This is not a strange thing that I do. I'm bringing this case before you, God. I think you need to do this, I won't even mention what some of the things have been, but I believe you need to do this. I am here to prevent shame to your name. And in order to prevent shame, I'm asking you to get out of bed at midnight and give us as much as we need. And I'm telling you, folks, in those dire moments of midnight hour, I have seen the miraculous, the powerful God come through when there seemed to be no way. There seemed to be no reason that he should get up. And I certainly wasn't going to embarrass myself but instead I appealed to his honor and glorified his name. Let's stand up now. Some of you have heard it, some of you have never heard it. Can you imagine pastors who have never been in the ministry for years and never heard this? The light came on and it just totally transformed their church. They said, I'm going to teach this to my whole church, honoring him. So now, when they said, Lord, teach us to pray, and he said, do this. Say, Father, hallowed, to be honored is your name. And you may not have a dire request tonight. You may not have something that's really, really on your mind, but you might. You go, all right, let's go. Let's family, husband, wife, family, let's go before God. Not maybe once, maybe twice, whatever. But we're not going and just pounding shamelessly and embarrassing, because we don't want to create shame. We want to create honor and prevent shame. And so we bring honor before you, God. Here's our need. And we just think, God, we just want to bring honor. So we start pressing the honor, pressing that honor, presenting honor. We talk to our, if we need to, we talk to our kids. We talk to our husband, wife, kids, family. Oh, God, we need a breakthrough, family. Let's do the honorable thing. Let's spend a few minutes talking honorably to him. Or when we show up at church on Sunday, let's just make sure, kids, we need a breakthrough. Let's make sure we get, as much honor as we can. Let's not say anything. We need a breakthrough. Let's not say anything dishonorable in the house, right? Let's not talk dishonorable. Ooh, Kathy, let's not talk dishonorable to each other, right? Because we need a breakthrough. We need a miracle. We need something from heaven. All we're going to do is give God honor, right? Honor and praise. I wonder if somebody here tonight needs a breakthrough. Maybe, John, it would be good to do we're great on time. Maybe it'd be good to do some kind of honor song. And we could just give him some honor, because maybe there's there probably is somebody here that they could use a breakthrough in some area, and you just never really practiced this before, and you can say, I want to just give him honor and praise. And even if you don't need one, it's still so wonderful to realize this is why I'm here on the earth. I'm here on the earth to give you honor, God. Honor and praise and glory. I honor your name, O God. Honor and praise. Hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be thy name. And you can also create the atmosphere of honor for somebody else here who needs a breakthrough. And you're just creating that atmosphere for them, and it's just that much easier for them. I don't even know what to say now. I mean, this means so much to me. I hope you can tell. It means so much to me that I wanted to share it with you. Wow.